There comes a quiet moment in life when you grow tired, not from the weight of who you are, but from the burden of explaining it. Tired of turning your truth into something digestible for others, tired of softening your edges so their comfort remains undisturbed. And somewhere between their questions and your answers, you begin to lose the sound of your own voice. But hear this, you were not born to be understood by everyone, nor were you created to justify your existence like a story on trial. There is a power, deep and unshaken, in standing in your truth without apology, letting your silence say what your explanations never could. Because the moment you stop explaining yourself to everyone is the moment you finally begin to belong to yourself. There is a quiet kind of understanding that does not ask you to perform. It does not pull you into long explanations or demand that you translate your soul into simpler terms. It simply sees you as you are and nods in recognition. Those who truly matter in your life will meet you in that space. They will not require you to shrink your truth into something easier to accept, nor will they ask you to carry the weight of proving your intentions again and again. With them, your presence is enough, your words are enough, and often even your silence is enough. But too often, you find yourself standing before people who listen only to respond, not to understand. You pour out explanations, thinking that if you just say it the right way, they will finally see you clearly. Yet clarity cannot be forced upon closed eyes, and in that effort you begin to exhaust yourself, stretching your spirit thin just to be acknowledged. The truth is, when someone is meant to understand you, they do not require endless clarification. They feel your sincerity without interrogation. They trust your voice without cross-examination. There is a deep freedom in accepting that not everyone is your audience. Not every ear is meant to hear your story, and not every heart is prepared to hold it with care. When you release the need to be understood by all, you begin to recognize the ones who understand you effortlessly. These are the people who do not twist your words or question your essence. They do not stand across from you as if you are something to be solved. Instead, they stand beside you, allowing you to simply be. And perhaps the most powerful shift comes when you stop mistaking confusion for connection. Just because someone asks you to explain yourself does not mean they are trying to know you deeply. Sometimes it only means they are measuring you against their own limited understanding. You are not required to fit into that measure. You are not obligated to reshape your truth so it aligns with someone else's expectations. Your authenticity was never meant to be negotiated. When you begin to hold this truth close, something within you settles. You speak less, but you say more. You stop chasing validation through explanations and start standing firmly in who you are. And in that stillness, you will notice something remarkable. The right people never needed your explanations to begin with. They were already listening with their hearts. They were already choosing you, not because you convinced them, but because they recognized you. So let the others misunderstand if they must. Let them create their own versions of your story if that is what they choose. You are not responsible for correcting every perception or answering every doubt. Your responsibility is to remain true, to remain whole, and to give your energy only to those who honor it. Because in the end, the ones who matter will never ask you to explain your worth. They will simply reflect it back to you. There is a subtle habit many carry without ever naming it, a quiet urge to explain a little more than necessary, to add just one more sentence, just one more reason, hoping it will finally be enough. It feels harmless at first, even polite, as though you are simply helping others understand you better. But beneath that effort often lives something deeper, a desire to be accepted, to be approved of, to be seen as right in the eyes of others. And without realizing it, you begin to measure your worth by how easily people agree with you. Over-explaining does not come from clarity. It often comes from doubt. It is born in those moments when you second guess your own decisions, when you feel the need to soften your truth so it will land more gently, when you reshape your words so they will not be questioned. You begin to decorate your choices with justifications, as if your life needs a defense, as if your path must be approved before it can be valid. And slowly, almost invisibly, you hand over your power, piece by piece, to the opinions around you. Approval can feel comforting, like a warm room where no one challenges you, where every nod reassures you that you are doing the right thing. But comfort, when it depends on others, can quietly become a cage, because the moment you rely on approval, you also begin to fear its absence. You hesitate before speaking, you rehearse your truth before sharing it, and sometimes you silence yourself altogether just to avoid disapproval. What once felt like safety becomes limitation, holding you back from fully standing in who you are. There is a different kind of strength that begins to grow when you step away from that need. It is not loud or forceful, but it is steady. It shows up when you make a decision and let it stand on its own, without wrapping it in layers of explanation. It appears when you allow people to question you without feeling the urgency to respond. In those moments, you are no longer asking for permission to exist as you are. You are simply existing fully and unapologetically. And the truth is, no amount of explaining will convince someone who has already chosen not to understand you. You can offer your reasons with care and honesty and still be met with doubt. That is not a reflection of your truth. It is a reflection of their perspective. When you accept this, you begin to see that over-explaining does not build connection. It drains you in pursuit of something that may never be given. When you release the need for constant approval, you reclaim something far more valuable, your peace. You begin to trust your own voice without needing it to be echoed by others. You stand in your decisions without the urge to defend them, and in that space, you discover a quiet confidence that does not seek validation because it no longer needs it. So allow your words to be enough the first time. Allow your choices to exist without explanation. Let people think what they will, even if they do not fully understand you. Because the moment you stop seeking approval through endless explanations is the moment you step out of the cage and into the freedom of being truly yourself. The way you carry yourself speaks long before your words ever arrive. In the quiet spaces between what you say and what you allow, people begin to understand how they can approach you, how far they can go, and how seriously they should take your presence. This is not something you announce, it is something you demonstrate. And when you find yourself explaining every decision, justifying every boundary, and defending every choice, you are unknowingly teaching others that your no is negotiable, that your truth can be questioned, and that your authority over your own life is open for debate. It often begins with good intentions. You want to be understood, to be fair, to avoid conflict. So you explain why you cannot do something, why you chose a certain path, why you feel the way you do. But the more you explain, the more you invite others to step into a space that was never meant to belong to them. They begin to see your decisions not as final, but as flexible, not as yours, but as something they can influence, reshape, or even challenge. And slowly, without realizing it, you give them permission to stand where only you should stand. There is a quiet authority in simplicity. A decision stated clearly, without layers of explanation, carries a different kind of weight. It says that you trust yourself enough not to over-defend your choices. It says that you are not waiting for agreement to validate your direction. When you speak with that kind of clarity, people feel it. They may not always like it. They may not always agree, but they recognize that your words are not invitations for negotiation. When you over-explain, you do more than use extra words. You dilute your own presence. You take something firm and make it sound uncertain. You turn something clear into something open-ended. and people respond accordingly. They question more, they push further, they test your limits, not always out of disrespect, but because you have shown them that there is space to do so. It is not about blaming others. It is about recognizing the silent lessons your behavior has been teaching all along. Reclaiming that authority does not require you to become harsh or distant. It simply asks you to become clear, to say what you mean and allow it to stand, to set a boundary and resist the urge to decorate it with reasons that make it easier for others to accept. You can be kind and still be firm. You can be respectful and still be unshakable. The two are not opposites, they are companions when rooted in self-respect. And there will be moments when people resist this change. They may question you more, not less. They may feel uncomfortable when your explanations disappear and your clarity takes their place. That discomfort is not a sign that you are doing something wrong. It is a sign that the dynamic is shifting. You are no longer playing a role that required you to constantly justify yourself, and that can unsettle those who benefited from that version of you. In time, something powerful begins to settle into place. The same people who once questioned you start to listen differently. The same conversations that once drained you become shorter, clearer, and more respectful. Not because you demanded it, but because you demonstrated it. You showed through your actions that your life is not a discussion to be managed by others. So let your words carry weight by not overloading them. Let your decisions stand without explanation. Let your boundaries exist without apology. Because the moment you stop over-explaining is the moment you remind the world and yourself that you are the authority in your own life. Ah, I see. You want to expand on the keynote? You teach people how to treat you, especially tied to the idea that not everyone deserves access to your story. Here's a full paragraph-style expansion in the same motivational, Maya Angelou-inspired tone. Every time you allow someone unlimited access to your feelings, your decisions, or your personal story, you are silently teaching them how far they can go with you. The boundaries you fail to set, the explanations you overextend, and the truths you give too freely all send a message. This is how much of me you can take, and it's okay. You may not say it aloud, but your actions speak louder than words. People will treat you in the way that you have permitted them to treat you. And if you have not guarded your energy or your narrative, they will assume there are no limits. There is a sacredness to your story that is yours alone. It is not a commodity to be exchanged for validation, nor is it a tool to appease the curiosity of those who do not genuinely care. When you share every thought, every reason, and every justification, you unintentionally lower the value of your presence. Your life is rich with experiences, your decisions are intentional, and your emotions are valid, but they are not automatically for public consumption. When someone senses that your personal truths are always available to be explained, they may begin to take them for granted. They may question, doubt, or manipulate, not because of malice, but because your willingness to explain has taught them that your boundaries are negotiable. But the moment you recognize that your story is sacred, a shift occurs. You stop feeling the need to justify your choices to everyone and anyone. You begin to understand that the people who truly deserve to be part of your life will honor your limits without requiring every detail. They will respect your silence as much as your voice. They will value your presence without demanding explanations, because they know your worth does not need to be constantly defended. In guarding your story, you are teaching a simple yet profound lesson, that your life, your energy, and your truth are not for others to command. They are for you to honor. And here is the beauty of it. When you teach others how to treat you in this way, you do not push them away. You refine your circle. You create space for relationships built on respect, understanding, and mutual recognition. People no longer see you as someone to be questioned or managed. They see you as someone who is whole, sovereign, and intentional. You become a standard for how you wish to be treated, and suddenly, Those who are meant to be in your life rise to meet it, while those who are not naturally fall away. Your story is yours to hold, and your boundaries are your responsibility. You do not owe explanations, apologies, or permissions to anyone who has not earned the right to them. By protecting your narrative, you show the world the value of your presence. You show them that you will not shrink, soften, or dilute yourself for comfort or approval. And in doing so, you teach perhaps the most important lesson of all, that how people treat you is not a mystery to be endured. It is a mirror of what you allow. Every action you take, every line you draw, every word you choose to share or withhold teaches people how they can engage with you. If you bend yourself to explain, apologize, or justify unnecessarily, you are silently instructing the world that your boundaries are negotiable and that your energy is up for debate. People will respond to the signals you give them. They will treat you according to what you allow, not according to what you deserve. This is why the way you carry yourself, even in silence, communicates far more than your explanations ever could. There is power in understanding that misunderstanding is not always your responsibility. Some people choose not to see clearly. They filter your words and actions through their assumptions, biases, or insecurities. And when you over-explain to correct them, you are assuming responsibility for their perspective rather than honoring your own truth. Recognizing this distinction is liberating. It frees you from the exhausting cycle of justification and allows you to focus your energy on those who truly respect and value your presence. By standing firm in your truth without constant defense, you are teaching people the standard of how you expect to be treated. You are showing that your choices are intentional, your boundaries are sacred, and your worth does not require validation. This is not arrogance, it is self-respect. And self-respect has a quiet but unmistakable voice that commands recognition. People respond to it, not always with agreement, but with a clear understanding that you will not compromise your integrity to soothe their confusion or discomfort. The lesson is simple yet profound. The way you allow others to treat you is often a reflection of what you accept from yourself. If you tolerate overstepping, you teach that your energy is expendable. If you constantly justify and explain, you teach that your truth is negotiable. But if you hold your ground, protect your story, and honor your boundaries, you teach that your presence is valuable, your decisions are final, and your voice is not up for debate. And in that teaching, you discover a remarkable clarity. People begin to respect the space you create, to honor your boundaries, and to meet you where you stand. The ones who matter do not require explanations. They understand, or at least they choose to honor what you offer. Others may misunderstand, and that is their choice, not yours. By teaching people how to treat you, you reclaim your authority, your peace, and your right to be unapologetically yourself. There will be moments in life when standing alone feels heavier than any weight you have ever carried. When voices rise around you, questioning your choices, doubting your intentions, or ridiculing your path, it is in that quiet, solitary space that your strength is truly tested. To stand firm is not to be stubborn. It is to honor the voice inside you that knows your truth. It is to recognize that no opinion, no criticism, no expectation can define your worth unless you allow it to. Your authenticity, that unshakable essence of who you are, is stronger than any judgment cast in your direction. Standing firm means trusting yourself enough to resist the pull of popular opinion. It means making decisions, taking actions, and holding boundaries even when the crowd disagrees or the world looks away. It is an act of courage because it places you directly in alignment with your truth, even at the cost of comfort, acceptance, or applause. And though it may feel isolating at first, it is in that solitude that clarity emerges. When you stop bending to meet others' expectations, you begin to see your path more clearly, and the life you are meant to live begins to take shape. The truth is, those who attempt to sway you are often not trying to help. They are projecting their fears, their insecurities, or their limitations. Your resolve will be tested because authenticity is unsettling to those who have never learned to value it in themselves. But the strength of standing firm is not measured by how many people agree with you. It is measured by how deeply you remain true to yourself while the noise swirls around you. Every time you resist explaining, defending, or diluting your essence, you teach not only the world, but yourself that your presence is not negotiable. And here is the quiet magic. Standing alone does not mean being lonely. It means being aligned. It means moving through the world with integrity, allowing only those who respect your truth to walk beside you. Over time, the right people will recognize your strength, honor your choices, and rise to meet you where you stand. The ones who are meant to share your journey will not ask you to compromise or justify your authenticity. They will simply witness it and respond with respect. So hold your ground, even when it feels like the world stands against you. Let your decisions, your boundaries, and your essence speak louder than any explanation. Your authenticity is a force stronger than their opinions, a light that cannot be dimmed by doubt or criticism. And in standing firm, even when you stand alone, you demonstrate the most profound truth of all, that no one can define your worth but you, and the courage to remain yourself is the greatest legacy you can leave.